Hello students and welcome back to our next video lecture. We are going to do some applications related to all these graphs in this video lecture. Let's begin. Now let's learn what are independent and dependent variables. So we notice that the amount of electric bill depends on the quantity of electricity used. We say that the quantity of electricity is an independent variable or sometimes control variable, and the amount of electric bill is the dependent variable. Why is that so? Why is electric bill the dependent variable? Because electric bill, how much the electric bill will be, it depends on how much is the electricity used. So this electric bill is the dependent variable, while this quantity of electricity used is the independent variable, because this is not depending on electric bill. The relation between such variables can be shown through a graph easily. So we can show the relationship between a dependent variable and an independent variable by using a graph very easily. Let's see this example. Example number 6. We are given that the following table gives us the quantity of petrol and the cost for that quantity. Number of liters of petrol 10, 15, 20 and 25, and cost of petrol in rupees 500, 750, 1000, 1250 respectively for all these liters. We need to plot a graph to show the data and find the amount needed to buy 12 liters of petrol. So first of all, our first part is to plot the graph. Using all these information, all this data, we have to first plot this graph, and then from that graph, using that graph only, we need to find that how much amount is needed to be paid for 12 liters of petrol. So if you see, this is our information, the data. We can easily, on the x-axis, we can easily show the liters of petrol, and on the y-axis, we can easily represent the cost of petrol in rupees. So coordinates will be 10, 500, 15, 750, similarly 20, 1000, and the last one is 25, 1250. So in order to plot graph for this data, you need to plot all these coordinates for these 4 points. So if you start plotting, you will get your 10, 500 here, 15, 750 here, 20, 1000 here, and your 25, 1250 here. You take the scale for the x-axis and the y-axis accordingly. This depends on the information of the data that is provided to us. So since it is 555 units away from each other, so I am taking the scale as 5 on the x-axis, 0 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 15 and so on. While here you can see that it is 500, then 750, then 1000, 1250. So I am taking 100 unit scale on the y-axis. 0 to 100, 100 to 200, then 300, 400, 500, so on till 1300. That depends on the last value, that is 1250. So I am taking the last value here on the y-axis as 1300. I have already taught you how to plot all these coordinates for these points. In the previous lecture, we discussed about it. So if you plot these points, you will get this. Then join all these points together with the origin and you get this whole line. And you can see, you can conclude that this is our graph for this example number 6. This is the graph that we have got. Now, our next part was, first part is done. That is, we have made this graph for this data. Now we need to find the amount needed to buy 12 liters of petrol. So if you see, 12 is going to be in between 10 and 15. So if we find 12, it will be here. This is 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 and 15. So 12 is here. We are meeting the line somewhat here. And if you go to this side, you will find that this point is 6. This is near 600. So this point is 600. So you can see from your graph that the amount needed to buy 12 liters of petrol is 600 rupees. You can plot the graph and then you can check for 12, the value 12 on your x-axis. And from the 12, you have to go to the upward side, and where that line will touch the graph, that point, that coordinate on the x-axis will represent the amount for that 12 liters of petrol. Next example, we have example number 7. It says that a bank gives 10% simple interest on deposits by senior citizens. We need to draw a graph to illustrate this relationship between the sum deposited and the simple interest earned. find from your graph, first of all, the annual interest obtainable for an investment of rupees 250, and then the next part we need to find is the investment one has to make to get an annual simple interest of rupees 70. So let's first of all plot the graph. So you can, from the formula, you know that since 10% was the interest, then if you deposit 100 rupees, you will get how much annual simple interest? 10 rupees. For 200 rupees sum, you will get 20 rupees as the interest. For 330, for 550, and similarly for 1000, you will get 100. So on the x-axis, on the horizontal axis, I am representing deposits in rupees 100, 200, 300, 400, so on till 1000. And on the y-axis, on my vertical axis, I am representing the annual simple interest in rupees. That will be 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, and so on till 100. Further, I am going to make this graph, to plot this graph, I am going to represent these coordinates. These coordinates are, if you see, then these coordinates are 100, 10. These coordinates are 100, 10, 20, 200, 30, 300, 50, 500. Sorry, it's just the opposite. It's first of all our x-axis will come, that is deposits will come. So 200, here it is 100, 10, 200, 20, 300, 30. And then I have 500, 50. At last, I want to plot 1000, 100. If I plot all these coordinates on my graph sheet, I will get the graph that we had to plot. So this is going to be somewhat like 10, 100 here, 100, 10 here. This is 100, 10, right? This is 100, 10. 100, 10 here, 200, 20 here, 300, 30 here. If you plot, you will get your 500, 50 here, 500 from this side, 50 to the upward side, and 1000, 100 here. Join all these points with the origin, you get your graph. So this is your graph that you had to plot. And further, we need to find these two parts. That is, first one is the annual interest obtainable for investment of rupees 250. And we do not need to do any calculations for solving this. We need to find the answer from the graph itself. So if you see that for 250 deposit, it will be somewhat in between 200 and 300. If you take 250, it will be here. If you go to the upward side and you reach this graph line here. So what is this point? On the y-axis, it is in between 20 to 30, that is 25. So if you go, you will reach here. To the upward side, you are going to reach here. So this will be your answer, that is, the annual interest obtainable will be rupees 25. And further, for the second part, you need to find the investment one has to make to get an annual simple interest of rupees 70. So it is the vice versa. Now you are given the annual simple interest of rupees 70. That is, you are going to find the 70 value on your y-axis now. So 70 is here. If you go to the right side, you reach the graph here, and which x coordinate is represented for this point? This point represents which of the x coordinates? So you go down here and you get 700 on the x-axis. So what investment one has to make to get this much simple interest? That is rupees 70. That investment is rupees 700. You checked it from the graph itself. You go here down, you get 700. Next is example number 8. So example number 8, in this it is written that Ajit can ride a scooter constantly at a speed of 30 kilometers per hour. Draw a time distance graph for this situation. So we're given, we need to draw a time distance graph for this situation. And then further, using the graph, we need to find the time taken by Ajit to ride 75 kilometers and the distance covered by Ajit in 3.5 hours. So you can see that because the speed of Ajit is given and the speed is 30 kilometers per hour. So if I take time in hours as 1, 2, 3, 4, my distance covered will be 30. Then in the second hour, it will be 60. Third, it will be 90. And for fourth, it will be 120. This is because you are given the speed for that person, Ajit, as 30 kilometers per hour. So he's traveling how many kilometers in 1 hour? He's traveling 30 kilometers in 1 hour. So in the second hour, he will travel 60, for the 90, and then 120. Using this data, you are asked to make this, plot this time distance graph. The coordinates you have to plot for making this graph will be 1, 30, 2, 60, 3, 90, and at last your coordinate is 4, 120. So when you will plot all these coordinates on a graph sheet, you will get a line, you will get the graph by joining all these points. So let's see, your 1, 30 will be here, 2, 60 here, 3, 90 here, and at last 4, 120 here. Join all these points with the origin together, you get this line, and this is your linear graph. So this graph has been made. Now the question that was asked is, find the time taken by Ajit to write 75 km. So we get 75 km value, that is, you have to check this 75 on the y-axis, you are getting 75 here. If you move to the right side and reach the linear graph, you get it here. So what x-axis is representing this point? You go down and you will get in between 2 and 3. So time in hours is 2.5 hours. You reach here. So the answer for this is how many hours? 2.5 hours, you can say, right? Further, for the second part, you need to find the distance covered by Ajit in the given, that is 3.5 hours. So now you are given 3.5 hours. So you are going to check this 3.5 on this x-axis now, because the time axis is this axis. So 3.5 is going to be in between this 3 and 4 value. So this is 3.5, and if you go upward, you will reach this graph, linear graph here, and this is somewhere in between 100 and 110. So what is the distance covered? The distance covered will be, this is here, that is 105 kilometers. So the answer is 2.5 hours and 105 kilometers respectively for these 1 and 2 parts. So this was all about this video lecture. We learned more about these linear graphs and their applications. In the next video lecture, since all the concepts are covered, I'll be doing a quick recap with you all, so that you summarize this whole chapter and all the concepts better. I'll meet you all in the next video. Till then, bye bye.